What do you guys think there is after death? Story 1. I always wonder about this, now that I'm 40, married, 2 kids, a dog, etc. I think to myself in the Earth's billion-year history, and the years in which humans have roamed the Earth, for the selection of time between the 20th, 21st centuries. I got to live a life alongside other people who were chosen to live in that same era. My friends, my family, my colleagues, celebrities, all of us chosen for this tiny blip on the radar. I sometimes wonder what comes next, but I am incredibly thankful for everything I have received, especially my husband, a person I truly believe was meant to roam the earth with me. Story 2. I believe that infinitely more powerful entities than myself exist somewhere somehow. I think that their capabilities are beyond quantum, meaning when you die, I think they'll either let you choose what happens, or there is much, much more already planned that I simply cannot understand. Either way, I'm here to experience and prepare for life, not for passing. Story 3. I was pronounced dead for a short period of time before being resuscitated. Completely white, felt like everything and nothing was happening at once. Not sure if that makes sense. I had an auditory hallucination, or could have been real, that I was simultaneously hearing the voices of my ancestors and also my future bloodline, but that's the only thing I remember vividly. Story 4. Same as with dying stars. Red giants and supernova disperse various atoms that might be used again in the formation of other stars and planets. Our decaying remains, cremation counts also, eventually shed atoms back into the soil and water and air. Those little guys may become some type of flora and fauna. The cycles continue until the passing of the universe, but that's a whole other ball of wax. Story 5. Once your brain activity stops, the conscious being that was you is gone forever. How could it be otherwise? I've never understood the idea that some disembodied spirit or soul could continue on without the body. What would that even be? Ideas about a so-called afterlife are just wishful thinking. Make the best of the years you have here on Earth. Story 6. I believe that as you approach your end, you slip into an endless trance, or a dream, if you will. Your consciousness slows down to the point that, from your perspective, you asymptotically approach your passing. Whatever you personally believe as an afterlife will be your new, eternal reality. Story 7. To me, the best way to think about it, irrespective of your beliefs, is to hope for a reunification with family and friends, to get to relive your happiest moments and best memories while getting to make new ones with those you cherish. Best case, it's true, and worst case, it's not. No downside to the comfort you'd feel when you're in the hot seat, waiting for passing to take you. Story 8. Based on my personal experiences of seeing, witnessing paranormal NDE supernatural occurrences, it's heaven or hell. I wish I were just trolling, but there is something going on. Rather, you want to say simulation, God, whatever. I've been religious, I've been an atheist, and I've been a Satanist. I have a sound mind, and am certainly not here to convince nor convert anyone to any belief system. I've seen shadows in broad daylight. I've seen demonic possession several times, like Hollywood-style blackened eyes, inhumane expressions full of dislike, etc. I've been in tight spots where I almost died and orbs of light appeared. I have risen out of my body to see myself, and I explained that to a ex-GF who corroborated everything I described as she panicked next to my body. I can go on and on. It's something I've grappled with, my experiences. I should share with more people. Upload a video or something. It might help someone. Story 9. For me, nothing. It'll be the same as before I was born. I do think it's possible that given the fact I showed up once, and if time is infinite, debatable, I might show up again at some point. Me doesn't mean me as I am now, but I might have some kind of subjective consciousness at some point again. Though if I do, it wouldn't really be me, and I wouldn't remember my present life. It might even be trillions of years from now in a different universe, and I probably wouldn't be human, IDK, but it's an interesting thought. It's kind of a naturalistic reincarnation idea based on the possibility that time is infinite. Basically, it happened once, so maybe it'll show up again. Story 10. I know there is more, and there really isn't one or a few set things that can happen. Many different things can happen. Best case scenario, you will make it to the root of your own mind and forge your own worlds from there, which other people can experience after they die. Story 11. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence. I used to think this was just an abstract idea until I realized it's an actual philosophical theory. I personally love the concept. The only reason we exist in our current form is because every atom and molecule aligned in exactly the right way. So if the universe is truly infinite and cyclical, then eventually everything would align again, leading to the same choices, outcomes, and lives being repeated. What makes this idea so compelling is that it allows fate and free will to exist side by side. We shape our own heavens and hells, even if we're destined to repeat them. Story 12. Your soul travels to another realm and lives a new life there. Same nature, different nurture. Then, when they die on that world, your soul does it all again, until the very end of this infinite multiverse. At least, that's what it believed, for no particular reason. Story 13. I think whatever happens when you go to sleep today is exactly what happens when you die. For me, there's nothing. Lights out, no dreams, no lucid dreams. Nada, just darkness. I think whatever happens when you sleep is exactly what happens when you go to eternal sleep. Story 14. Whatever was before birth, so not even nothing. And I'd frankly prefer that to infinite life by a lot. I'd rather not be floating around an endless void after the heat passing of the universe for all of eternity. Story 15. I think there's enough anecdotes about ghosts to believe in it. I'm not saying like heaven and stuff, just ghosts existing after you die. I want to be a fully functional ghost, W all my senses, and mental ability intact. Would love to haunt PPL who stay indoors, watch TV series, and read comics all day. Story 16. I can't imagine there being nothing, simply because I do believe in physics. Nothing is created nor destroyed, so perhaps our energy lives on in a different form, whether it's in heaven, hell, reincarnation, rebirth, etc. IDK. Story 17. These are the mysteries of life. I'm convinced there has to be more, but cannot imagine what it might be. I will find out eventually. Or not. Whatever it is, once we are born, we are committed to seeing it through. No way off this ride because it probably doesn't end here. Story 18. I believe the spirit will travel to a higher dimensional state and exist in that state until there is another bodily form it can be plugged back into. I don't know if that body is human or animal, or even a part of this earth. I just have the intuition that our souls do not ever cease to exist. They just wander back and forth from their true, higher dimensional state, back to a lower dimensional form that is more akin to life as we know it. Story 19. Passing is just another path, one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world is rolled back and all turns to silver glass. Then you see it, white shores and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise. Story 20. Why the hell does anyone even believe that something comes after? It's all delusional. We no longer exist. Our brain can't process stimuli anymore. It has to be exactly like before we were born, and there's no reason to think anything comes after that. Story 21. We are going to die. That makes us the lucky ones. Most people are never going to die because they are never going to be born. The potential people who could have been here in my place, but who will in fact never see the light of day, outnumber the sand grains of Arabia. Certainly those unborn ghosts include greater poets than Keats, scientists greater than Newton. We know this because the set of possible people allowed by our DNA so massively exceeds the set of actual people. In the teeth of these stupefying odds, it is you and I, in our ordinariness, that are here. We privileged few who won the lottery of birth against all odds. How dare we whine at our inevitable return to that prior state from which the vast majority have never stirred. Richard Dawkins. Story 22. Nothing. Yes, it is terrifying and nihilistic to contemplate how we transition into nothingness for eternity, that humanity has had to come up with fairy tales and fake daddies in the sky to ease our angst. Story 23. Him'll know a whole lot more dead people than live ones, so I can tell you from personal experience that what happens after passing is a funeral, as Porky Pig says at the end of cartoons. That's all, folks. Story 24. I did salvia once, and I swear I died. I was sucked into the other side through a shadow by the mechanical little people, with the profound sense that I should not be there yet. They were devoid of all emotion, but I wasn't. It was overwhelmingly sad and full of grief. I was on the other side of reality watching my life on repeat. It was a lot like Interstellar when he went inside the black hole, though there was regret for no longer being able to touch the other side. Maybe that changes when I'm also mechanical post-passing. Maybe I'm going to hell. Haha. Whatever, I just hope I'm cool with it when it comes my way. Story 25. The universe is a creation of temporary escape. Not existing is impossible. Passing is an illusion. This life gives your consciousness a break from the fact that existence is all there is. A moment to forget there is no God and there is no way out. The meaning of life. Think I'll go play VR. Story 26. Such a boring response, nothing. I like to imagine when you die, you're born on some alien planet, either in this universe or another. Could even be born into a different time period, or reincarnate into some random deep-sea creature, etc. I believe you're born to die. Something magical must happen on the other side. Story 27. It's passing all the way down. You aren't an immortal being. You are a pattern, and the bits that make up your body and mind are only temporarily in that pattern, and eventually they'll find themselves part of other patterns instead. It's like asking where the shadow puppet goes when you move your hands out of the light source. Story 28. this would be better if it were. People who've died and came back. What's on the other side? From my experience of almost choking to passing, it's peaceful nothingness, just darkness. Not exactly dying, but close enough. Story 29. Nothing. Not an endless dark void, just nothing. Consciousness is nothing but an electrochemical reaction in the nervous system. When the nervous system dies, so does the person. No afterlife, no heaven, no hell. Just nothing. The person ceases to exist. Story 30. If you're into this kind of thing, check out ndrf.org. It's a site where thousands of people have shared their near-passing experiences. A lot of the stories are strangely consistent. People describe floating out of their body, seeing a bright light, feeling this insane sense of peace or love, and sometimes meeting loved ones or spiritual beings. Some even talk about a life review, where they relive moments from their life, but through the eyes of others. What's wild is how similar these stories are, no matter where people are from or what they believe. It honestly made me question if passing is really the end. Story 31. It seems to me that the most likely answer is what we're currently experiencing. What are the odds that in all of time, we're alive for the first and only time ever? It seems like the most probable explanation is that we've died before and will die again. Thankfully, we are not burdened with the weight of all that memory. Story 32. We would be somewhere same as we are here in this planet. Maybe we would be in different planet. As before birth, we didn't knew such type of world exists, but it does, and we are here. So after passing also, we would be somewhere. Story 33. Hopefully the same as before I was born. Nothing. I think my worst nightmare might be getting reincarnated as another human. Or what if life is just a loop and I'm forever me in different time periods, but with no recollection? What if I die and am forced to relive this life? I straight up do not want to exist. I'd imagine it being like general anesthesia. Not even blackness because you aren't thinking so you can't perceive blackness. I like that. Story 34. You are nothing but an assortment of proteins. When you die, the electricity and enzymes that keep those assortments, stop. The proteins denature and break down. The worms finish the rest. Dying is not the end. It's a shift. You go from being you in a meat bag to only having the meat bag. What is then left of you is solely up to those who didn't die. All that remains is your memory. Will you leave this world with a good name? Story 35. Peace. Answers. Everything and nothing at the same time. Your consciousness is gone, but your soul achieves eternal peace from the constraints of the human mind and body. I think we become one with the universe. Story 36. I honestly have no idea. What I do know is that we live in a universe that wastes nothing. The oxygen we breathe was created in the heart of a dying star, as is everything we can see, touch, including ourselves. Nothing is ever destroyed in this universe. It is simply transformed into something else. That knowledge helps me not fear passing as much as I used to. Story 37. There was something before you, and there will be something after you. But if you mean consciousness doesn't exist, your soul is gone, but your human remains remain in this universe. These return to their original form, such as nutrients, such as nitrogen and potassium, and so on. So the soil makes you grow back alive, but as a plant. Plants in turn grow other living organisms, such as animals, with the help of air and food. Then some animals eat each other, and the same cycle continues until the end of the world. After the explosion of the Earth, all this matter travels through the universe, and who knows what happens next. Imagine if by some miraculous luck, all this were to be reborn again, millions of years later, and your mother gives birth to you again. But neither she nor you remember anything about the past. It's just a new beginning, and you might make the same mistakes again. But probably that next life will be completely different from now. So if that were to happen, probably there won't be a new planet Earth. But who knows? I hope there is something more than just emptiness. Story 38. It's hard sometimes to feel the truth. I think staring into the void is a slippery slope. We can all get so comfortable with darkness and emptiness that we get hypnotized by it and start holding it as ultimate. While it may be true that on the edge of life there is darkness all around, and trough it we all must go, we should carefully remember that we know nothing of what's beyond. Passing is not a homogeneous experience. Who is to say it is? Who is to call it either same or different? There is more to it than life can know, that's for sure. The greatest arrogance is deciding where our end lies, when we know nothing even about outbeckoning. I know one thing for sure. If a man holds his belief to be the ultimate truth, his belief in nothingness will come to haunt him, for whatever created us gave us freedom and loves us so that our choices come true. Be mindful of your weakness and blindness. It makes us all arrogant, and the greatest success of evil is not making us darn, but making us darn ourselves. Story 39. If there really is nothing after passing and nothing before, given my life is so short compared to the clockwork of the universe, it's like a 0% chance this moment I'm experiencing would be happening right now, and I'm actually conscious. Kind of weird, the whole situation. Feels meaningless, but if it's really true that this quick blink of existence is all you get, that's wild. It just seems more likely that this thing, whatever it is that I am, that's conscious and experiencing anything at all, lasts forever in some way. Why does it exist now? And why is it me specifically that's tied to this brain, and not anyone else? Story 40. Something we don't understand. Saying there's just pure nothing, or heaven, hell, or reincarnation is absurdly simplistic. All of them are just basic methods of dealing with the fact that we have absolutely no idea. To me, that's exciting. Obviously, it's likely this current me won't be in a position to appreciate it, but still, bring it on. Story 41. While I'm encouraged to see so many atheists and agnostics out there, I do wish it came with more emphasis on the value of the influence of our existence, being so much more important than the memory of our existence. Story 42. Well, there has to be more than this. I have had so many experiences with my brother and those who passed. We are made of energy. Energy never dies. We move to a different plane, a different form, but we go on. We have to keep coming back here, learn the lessons until I don't know what we all lived before. That's why sometimes you meet someone and it's a natural good vibe, and sometimes we instantly don't like someone because we have had many lives. The important people you'll play a part in the next life. Try and be kind to others, ourselves, and next life. The lessons will correspond, but there's always lessons because we're spiritual beings, and this is one big earth school. Story 43. I really hope we get to know all the knowledge in the universe, including everything which happened. and about how and why the universe got created and the meaning purpose of why we all exist, or at least a confirmation of what I believe. Story 44. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know for sure, and I try not to think about it. The idea of ceasing to exist terrifies me, but at the same time I'm totally irreligious and was raised that way from childhood. I have no concept of an afterlife and have no desire to tie myself to some religion I don't identify with to ease that fear. So I just do the best I can in this life and try not to dwell. Whatever happens is going to happen regardless. Story 45. There's literally no evidence of life or nothingness after passing. We can't bring evidence from another world with a brain made for this world. Even if we experienced something and came back, it's likely we wouldn't remember or even be able to conceive and describe it, kind of like trying to remember a dream, like we were there to experience it, but when we wake up it becomes hard to remember and or hard to truly describe. Story 46. It's a simulation, more like a matrix if you will, just as confirmed by CIA whistleblower Matthew Brown in part 3 of his interview on the Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. So either we'll get to see a game over or a continuing screen. Story 47. No matter, does it? No way of knowing. Maybe nothing. Probably nothing. Or at least, insofar as yourself is concerned. If you want to wax poetic, maybe the energy that makes yourself enters the earth or universe and combines and becomes new. But it won't be you anymore, right? But still a part of you. Frankly, I'm okay with impermanence. It gives life meaning. Eternity sounds horrible. Story 48. I think you probably go again. I feel like the awareness probably doesn't go away like the ego does. I'm sure you probably have absolutely no awareness of that, because you do cease to be. But whatever we are when we first open our eyes alive, that awareness I don't think goes away. Whatever that is, I think is what we truly are, and that, I think, endures. Story 49. What if I told you that I could arrange your reincarnation in your next life, and you could even choose your species? For 10,000. I'll make it happen, money back guarantee. If you're not a handsome Squidward or whatever in your next life, come find me. Story 50. You simply are just set to an off state. The concept of heaven or hell will exist in that short time as your body shuts off. The joy or misery that you will feel in those final moments might be the last thing you will ever remember. Then it's nothing. You are shut off, down, and nothing exists for you. Story 51. I believe we return to our deity form and swirl around in source energy until we decide to experience the physical plane again as someone else. But it's not the whole you. It's like slipping a finger into a glove, and I think that before we enter, we make contracts with other souls who are incarnating, who agree to either help us along the way or give us painful or challenging experiences which we have to heal from. The process of healing gives us expansion, which is the purpose of physical life. Expansion through experiencing different perspectives. Story 52. We get our souls recycled because an alien race that built the moon has a device built into the moon that doesn't allow us to reach the next stage of being. We don't get to see past the third dimension. These aliens feed off our negative emotions like a substance's sustenance. We're doomed to forever be recycled to suffer on Earth, over and over as a slave race. Story 53. there are only two choices. Either there is an afterlife, or there isn't. Most people on here clearly believe there isn't. Humans for millennia have tended to believe there is some sort of afterlife. This nihilism is new and reflected in our cultures and lives. Story 54. There's no passing. You're everyone, everything. The living universe is a giant tongue, tasting and experiencing everything. You're a taste bud that thinks it's separate. You need to think that for all this to work. But really, you're an appendage of the bigger you. The tongueverse, plants, bugs, people, animals, alien life. All you. You don't die. Story 55. Another life after passing is how people cope that there is nothing. Our lives here can vary from wonderful and fulfilling to absolute poverty and sadness. I wish we lived in a world where what people did mattered now and for future generations and not based on what a bunch of men from thousands of years ago lied about. Story 56. I sure hope there's an afterlife, and I'm banking on the Christian belief. Otherwise, life is utterly pointless, and we should all just die early to avoid the hassle. Unless you actually enjoy life, then I guess you do you. Story 57. I've experienced many strange things in my life that I can't explain. I'm not going to pretend like I know what will happen after I die. Maybe nothing. Maybe we move to a higher dimension of existence. Maybe sitting in purgatory for who knows how long. Story 58. My rational self says nothing. We are meat machines. And when our power is shut off, we go the same place my computer goes when I turn it off. My emotional self still feels that consciousness is not a physical phenomenon, and that our souls existed before our bodies did. We choose to be incarnated into a body to experience things that can only be experienced in a body. It's like playing a video game, except we are not allowed to know we are playing a game because it would ruin the illusion. When we incarnate, our stats are rolled randomly. Physical, intellectual, personality, and the place you are born. Maybe this is to learn or grow as a soul, or maybe it is just for experience itself. When you die, you leave the simulation and go back to being what you were, a disembodied soul that can't experience physical sensations. This concept resonates with me, but it is ultimately pointless because it doesn't really tell you anything about what to do in life, other than to try to appreciate it for what it is. Maybe be kind to people who rolled poorly, because that could be you the next time you play. There are elements of Buddhism and even Mormonism. The veil of ignorance and the idea that our souls choose to enter the world in particular. I've been an atheist most of my life, was briefly a fundamental Christian, even planned to be a preacher and DID deliver multiple sermons. Part of me really wants to believe in something beyond this material world. I was a dual major in philosophy and psychology in college because I wanted to understand more about the mind, consciousness, and reality. What it basically taught me is that even if there is something beyond this world, we can't ever know or prove it. Some people have the capability to pick something to believe in, a specific religion. Others can't, and that difference is largely driven by personality. It's like that's another stat rolled at birth. Do you have the tendency to believe in things without proof or not? Sorry, long-winded, and I've gone back and forth. I started having complex migraines in my 40s, where I can't read or speak correctly. It was first diagnosed as a stroke. That experience made me even more confident that we are just meat machines. Story 59. The other side. This being a world of test and that being the world we strived for. The place that tells you if you passed your life test or failed and decides your final eternal destination based on that. Story 60. I think that our form will cease to exist, but the truth is that on the day we die, many people will be born. These new births are also new manifestations of consciousness, with a new subjective experience. I'm not saying there will be a connection to me after I die, and this new birth, but I like to believe I, in the very loosest term, will carry on in an endless recycling. Story 61. On the Shotgun forums, it used to be about every 2 weeks someone would post asking for recommendations for a budget over-under. It cannot currently be done. Like if you are looking for cheap brain surgery, there are problems if you go too cheap. About once a month, someone here on Reddit posts what you posted, and it must be like a Trump-bashing post because people just love to pile on. I am a religious person, don't feel like peddling my wares, but I don't think the same as before you were born, or nothing people really account for some of the after-passing experiences. Some of these are similar cross-culturally. There are even a very small number of people, based on the people I've met, who have pre-Earth life memories. These few have also been similar cross-culturally. Story 62. Always believed in heaven and hell personally. I never believed in reincarnation, but I'd love for that to be real. Starting a whole new life after each passing, even if you don't realize it, just sounds really cool to me. Story 63. I think that we go home. That can mean a lot of things. For the purely secular, it can mean the decomposition process returns us to the elements we're built from, and those elements then are used again in a grand web of ecological interconnectivity. For the dogmatically religious, it can mean returning to the arms of Jesus or whatever. In the specific case of Christianity, personally, I don't know if there's any spark of consciousness or identity left after passing. There very well may not be, but if there is one, I like to think that it returns to wherever that energy originally came from. And in that place we experience a profound connection to all of creation, subsumed into everything and everyone else, but with just enough of our individuality remaining to appreciate the experience. Maybe that's just a silly fantasy, but it's general enough that it doesn't change how I live my life or compel me to control the lives of others, and it brings me hope and helps me accept my inevitable mortality. Story 64. The Bardo for cleansing, dream state, reevaluation. A lot of literally incomprehensible and unknown stuff. Then most likely reincarnation. Not sure where, with whom, or how. Like it or not, you must go back to work.